An anti-capitalist financial planner explains how to make ethically sound investments. So this is your blue-haired friend that you would see, I guess, after what? Your vegan butcher? Perhaps you would go after hanging out with your atheist priest, or maybe after you were on a date with hot Lizzo. No matter what it is, this is just crazy. It's an oxymoron. It's a completely confusing misnomer. An anti-capitalist financial planner. I think that thing about hot Lizzo will probably get me canceled, but I think it's a joke that was worth it. I stand by it. I'll do it for the lulz. Like many young people today, River Nice, 30, believes many of the traditional methods of getting rich under capitalism are unethical. It's a value system that makes their career as a financial planner unique. Well, it also makes it the weirdest, confusing thing ever. I think the best thing is just a vegan butcher. I just don't get it. Self-avowed anti-capitalist advises clients on how to engage in ethical investing to reach their financial goals. That strategy often means avoiding investments that support the fossil fuel industry, private prisons, or border control agencies, and it might involve a redistribution of wealth to people who need it. For example, using your excess earnings to donate to organizations that help refugees. This is so easily picked apart, but let's just even support the fossil fuel industry. Do you know what industry is the main industry funding the research for alternative energy? It is the fossil fuel industry. So all of a sudden you're like, well, we don't want to support them, but then you're not supporting what you want the world to transition into. Very, very confusing. There are some compromises. Clients can't completely avoid everything that goes against their values because capitalism and white supremacy and patriarchy are all completely intertwined oppressive structures. I feel like I just don't even have the right college degree in underwater basket weaving to understand everything that's going on here. A rising majority of young adults are critical of capitalism. When I read that, I thought BS, but then I thought maybe I'm just wrong and maybe it's just this circle of people I run with. But is that true? I mean, there's many young adults watching this video right now. Would you say that a rising majority? So it's saying over 50% and rising are critical of capitalism? I call complete BS on that. I would love to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're paying attention to markets and finance anyway. But do you really think between you and your friend group that a rising majority are critical of capitalism? Being someone who wants to help people with money, to help people use money and debt as tools to get the best life they can, I found it super important to start acknowledging to my clients that the entire economic model of the US and the majority of the world is not a fair model. I wanted to talk about this for a second. Is capitalism fair? Well, it kind of inherently comes down to how you define fair, if we're being honest. Is it perfect? No. I will be the first person to admit, okay, no, there are ways it could be improved. There are certain times that greed goes untethered and it leads to a detriment in one way or another. I will agree with that. But then another thing is if we admit that there's downfalls, a fair thing is to say is, are there other economic models that are better, that promote more total good? And I would argue that the answer is absolutely no. Is capitalism perfect? No, it's not. But is it the best model we've come up with? Undoubtedly so. And I'm not just saying that as a person who's like, okay, here, we love markets, we love capitalism, we love it. There's many things that we could go through. Look at the advances in technology, look at the advances in medicine. All this is basically because we had some sort of competitive capitalistic model, but really, I think this is the best one at showcasing why capitalism and Wall Street and stocks is the best vehicle mankind has ever come up with, because it has increased the mobility of people moving up in any financial class. There has been no better time, this time right now, especially within the US, but also in many parts within Europe, the greatest odds of upward financial mobility, period. Nonstop. And then on top of it, I get that some people like to cite the income difference, really the wealth gap that you hear so much. And they'll talk about it like, yes, it is true that the world's wealthy are getting more wealthy. Any basic chart will show you that. But do you know what's a more important chart than that, at least in my humble opinion, is are our world's poor getting less poor? And that's exactly what this shows. Right here, world population living in extreme poverty has been absolutely nosediving. This is mainly thanks to capitalism. This isn't the kind of graph that you get whatsoever when you're talking about any like socialistic economic method. It truly would not look like this. In fact, it would probably be getting worse. In socialism, yeah, you're still going to have the people at the top getting richer the way they are currently in capitalism. The issue is you have more people getting more poor. At least in this scenario, I'm not really focusing that much on how rich the rich are getting. Sometimes I do. Once again, I think there are pitfalls to capitalism, but I still don't think there's a better vehicle for mankind to really help the whole society progress. And I think that's perfectly represented by the fact of our world's poor. The amount is absolutely nosediving. So when we hear things like this misnomer of an anti-capitalist financial advisor, what is it? What does this mean? It just means clickbait. That's all this is. Some fancy schmancy headline that gets people to have an emotional response, and inherently it's just stupid and uninformed. But I want to get your thoughts on it. Maybe I'm a little bit too close. Maybe I'm not understanding it. But really what I want to get your thoughts on, is it true that you think a rising majority are anti-capitalism? I mean, the fact that you're watching this on the internet with your computers, with your iPhone, all that is thanks to capitalism. It's because we had competitive practices that caused people to come up with better and better innovations at a cheaper and cheaper price. That's the world we live in. And obviously the people who come up with that system, well, they're going to be benefiting off it. For example, Apple's a very, very valuable $2 trillion+ company because we're all on their computers, we're all on their phones. But I just don't understand it. This, to me, it's nothing beyond clickbait, where it's just going to cause people to argue probably the way that we are right now.